mamas, welcome back to another Healthy Moms Matter YouTube video. If you haven't already, please pause this video and press subscribe. Also, find the notifications bell and hit it so that next time you will be notified of any other videos that I do upload. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, so this one is going to be a little long, so if you have a tea or wine or any favorite beverage or snack, go grab it, come back, and let's dive into this labor and delivery video. It's gonna be juicy. Officially 2 weeks postpartum. I had baby boy on September 7th. He is healthy and well, and so am I. We are home and we are thriving and loving on him every single second of the day. I wanted to come on here and kind of talk through my labor and delivery process, what it was like, what I experienced, what I used in my hospital bag and what I didn't, a whole bunch of different things that went on that day of delivery that I wanted to share with you all. I didn't quite get to experience a typical vlog. Fortunately, it happened way too fast. So yeah, on Labor Day, which was September 6th, which was the day before I went to labor, everything was cool. I mean, everything was calm. There were no signs of contractions. There were no signs of birth near at all. I was really just chilling all day, hanging out with the family. My mom was in town. She was hanging out, just in case anything were to happen, she could be here to help. I remember mentioning to my husband and my mom that I felt like I was going to be pregnant for the rest of my life. Like, I literally felt like I would always have that stomach because baby boy was just not budging. I had probably like Braxton Hicks, and experienced like pressure, but as far as true contractions, I hadn't had any up until that point. That day, I just remember doing a lot of ball exercises, doing curb walking, drinking lots of water. I took a nap, some squats. Me and my mom, we went on our evening walk. And at the end of the night, I just felt like I'm just gonna wake up in the morning and there's not gonna be a baby. Like, I'm probably gonna have to be induced. So actually, the last conversation that my husband and I had was around what would be the best induction date. And we were trying to figure that out around like the kids' soccer schedules and swimming classes and stuff like that. And so we ended up just going to bed, and we actually were watching a Netflix show, and my husband went to bed at probably like 11:30, and then I followed up and went to bed. It was probably like 11:55 when I turned off my phone. And I laid down and I closed my eyes and I felt myself falling asleep. And as soon as I felt myself falling asleep, the biggest contraction hit. And I didn't really know if it was like a true contraction. I was like, am I dreaming or was this real? So I just laid there and I said, okay, well, let me see if this happens again. So 5 minutes later, it happened again. And I remember looking at my phone to see what time it was when the first contraction hit, and it was midnight. And so the second contraction hit 5 minutes later. I woke up my husband. I said, hey, I feel like these contractions are pretty serious. We might need to start, putting a move on it and getting to the hospital. And so he gets up, gets stuff ready to go. Mind you, I had already had my hospital bag packed and at the door. We were pretty prepared at that point. We were just getting like shoes on and clothes on because, we were in bed, like sleep. I'm like, okay, well, hold on, let's slow down. And at this point, I was still not believing that I was actually in labor. I think it's because I had gone so far up until the point of not having any contractions or anything, and then it hitting like that. I was just like, this can't be it. This is a game. So I was like, okay, hold on, let me see if this third contraction hits the same, and let me time it. So I go on my app that I had prepared for this moment, and it's called the Contraction Timer. And so I hit start and I timed it, and the contractions were 4 minutes apart at that time. So at that point, I'm like, okay, we have to go. So we leave out, my mom stays behind with the kids, and we head to the emergency room. On the way to the emergency room, I'm timing these contractions, and they get like 30 seconds shorter each time. And they are so painful to the point of where I can't even sit in my seat. And so we pull up to the emergency room and get out. Husband comes around, gets the wheelchair, wheels me out, and the nurses take me and wheel me up to labor and delivery. He's like, okay, I'll park the car and I'll meet you up there. So while the nurses are wheeling me up, they're like, how far apart are your contractions? I'm like, oh, they're probably like 3 minutes apart or something. And so they are timing the contractions behind me while they're pushing me. And they were like, no, sweetie, try more like 1 minute apart. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe I was a little bit off. And so I get up to the front desk and they're signing me in and everything. And at that point, I feel like I have to push. So I tell the front desk person, I have to push. Like, this baby is about to come out. She's like, oh, hold on, honey. Don't push. You're not about to have this baby in the hallway. Let's get you to a room. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get me to a room, because if you're a mom and you've been in labor, if you know, that urge to push is something insane. Like, for somebody to tell you not to push when a baby is trying to come out, that's like telling a volcano not to erupt when it's literally about to erupt. You literally can't stop it. So I was trying to hold everything in my being to try and keep this baby in until I got to a room. So we get to the room, which is a triage room, because they're trying to figure out, like, okay, well, who are you, first of all? Are you having twins? Like, is the baby breech? Like, we need to figure out what's going on before we wheel you into labor and delivery and have you deliver the baby. So they're trying to assess me and figure out what's going on. And I'm like, I have to push. Like, I don't think y'all understand. This baby's about to come out. And so she's like, okay, well, let me just do a cervical check. So she does the cervical check, and she was, you're 10 centimeters dilated and your water is bulging. So we're going to get you started here. So I was like, at that point, it was go. Like, and I had already knew because I felt it. I had 2 pregnancies and labor and delivery experiences before, so I know what that feels like. And it felt like his head was right there, and it was. So at that point, she calls the nurses and the doctors on. She's like, hey, I got, this female who's here, and she's ready to deliver. She's 10 centimeters, water bag is bulging. She's ready to go. So they wheel me into labor and delivery room. And at that point, I'm like, I'm pushing because I can't hold it anymore. And so they're like, that's fine. Go ahead and do what you have to do. You're in the right room now. So I push, and the first push was a huge gush, and it was my water broke. So I was like, great. I'm glad this happened here instead of in my husband's car, because that could have been bad. And they get me into the bed, the actual bed where I'm supposed to deliver. And so I lay on my back like I traditionally do when I give birth. And it's so painful because I'm having back pains. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to push on my back because it feels like there's a huge rock sitting on my spine. So I flip over and I'm on my hands and knees, and I'm like, I'm just going to push this way. And it's really interesting when you're in that much pain, your body just knows what to do to accommodate the pain. And it wasn't even me or really my choice that I wanted to be on my hands and knees. It wasn't even something that I had thought of doing prior. It wasn't in my birth plan or anything. It was just something that my body needed at the time. And so it was a quick adjustment. It felt so much better and so much more natural for how he was coming out. And so at that point, they were like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have you breathe. When the contraction hits, you're going to push into that contraction for 10 seconds and hold it. And I did that for about 5 times. Right when the head was coming out, my husband was running into the room, full sweat. He had just parked the car, and he made it exactly in time when the baby was born. It was insane. They couldn't even get an IV in, fluid started, the medicines that they give you to clot your blood, like all of that I didn't have because I just came in hot, ready to give birth. Like, it was so fast. It was so crazy. But at the same time, it was such an awesome experience, just because as a Black woman, I had feared not being heard in the delivery room, not being taken seriously. But that wasn't the case. I didn't experience that at all. I was actually, listened to and taken well care of, taken seriously. And it was so cool because I was in a room full of females. The nurses and the doctors were females, and they were all in there cheering me on, like, you got this, Tiffany, you got this, go girl, you can do it, you're pushing good, go girl, it's almost here. And when the baby came out, they're like, yeah, that's how you do it, mama. And it was just that encouragement from all these women cheering me on, and some women who have gone through it before, and women that have been in rooms with women who are going into labor, and that encouragement really helped me to push him out. And I think that's something else that helped the labor to go a little bit faster with less pushes, is the encouragement in the room. And the vibe was just so right. Afterwards, I pushed the baby out, and like I said, I'm on my hands and my knees. And so I grabbed the baby from underneath me and turn around and put him on my chest, and I'm like, I did it. But it was so fast. So backtrack. Mind you, I had my first big contraction at midnight. It was exactly midnight. I remember looking at the phone. And then he was born at 1 a.m. So all of this happened in exactly 1 hour. And I don't know if it could have happened at a better time, because if this would have happened in the morning, there would have been traffic. If this would have happened when I'm at home by myself with the boys, there's no way I could have been in that much pain driving. You know, my mom was here to help with the boys, so we didn't have to get the kids up and ready. And so I'm just so thankful how everything worked out. You know, everything worked out perfectly how it should, and I couldn't have asked for a better experience. So getting into what I used for my hospital bag, what I didn't use. So the first thing that I grabbed after I gave birth in my delivery bag was my Laneige Lip Mask. My lips were so dry after I gave birth. I don't know what it is. You just get so dehydrated. I was so thirsty, but most of all, my lips were so dry. So I was like, can you please give me my lip mask? That's what I asked my husband. And so that was the first thing I used. The second thing that was most beneficial at the hospital was my breastfeeding pillow. And it was so nice to have that support. Like after you give birth, your body just feels kind of like all out of whack. That it's just so nice to have that support when you're breastfeeding. And it was so funny because the lactation consultant came in and she was like, oh my gosh, I love that. I wish more people would bring a breastfeeding pillow to help them. So yeah, that's one thing that I would encourage you to bring. If you do have a nursing pillow, go ahead and bring that. But otherwise, I used most of the items in my bag. Like I said, I usually do a face mask after I have, give birth. I did that. All my skincare items I used, my robes, my nursing gowns I used. I will say I did bring a couple pairs of underwear and nursing bras. I only used one nursing bra, and I didn't use any underwear because you're wearing those disposable diapers. There's no need for underwear. So I could have left those. I didn't really need like socks. I wore my fuzzy socks, but as far as like my Nike socks, I probably could have done without that. Everything else I pretty much used in my bag. I will say that some of the newborn items that I could have left were like some of the extra onesies that I brought for him, or some of the extra socks that I brought from him, because most of the time he was just in a diaper and wrapped up in the hospital blanket, because I kept taking him to do assessments and tests and things of that nature. And so they needed to quickly unwrap him and do what they needed to do. So trying to put on a cute outfit and then having them take it off and like wrap him in the hospital blanket again, it was just like, let's just leave you like this. So I could have left those extra things at home, but it was nice because I didn't realize I was going to get in and out in 24 hours. So I may have used those things if I was to stay there longer, but I was only there for 24 hours. So, but other than that, I think that majority of the items that I showed you guys were very helpful. The snacks were helpful. I was surprised that after I gave birth around 1 a.m., I got to the recovery room at like 2 a.m. They actually had a full menu available to me. So I had a nice meal, but the snacks were helpful, like in those odd hours where meals weren't available. So I think that the snacks would be a really good option if you want to bring those. But everything else in my hospital bag I used. It was really beneficial. If you guys don't remember, I did post that hospital bag on my YouTube channel. Go ahead and refer back to it. Everything in there is linked. And you can go ahead and see what I brought, why I brought it. Yeah, so I am so happy that you guys were able to come along and listen to all of my labor and delivery experience. I am so happy that baby is here. He is healthy, he is well. I am healthy and well, and let's start this new journey. Postpartum, here I go. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, any concerns, feel free to put in the comments. I'll try and do my best and get back to you guys and answer your questions to the best of my ability. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me for the past 9 months. Those of you on my Instagram gang who have come over here from there, you guys saw from my very first post of me announcing my pregnancy up until my post that I had the baby. You guys have been so supportive. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for all the advice, all the encouragement, words of wisdom. You guys rock. So I appreciate my mom gang. I love you guys so much. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like this video, comment if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, take care. Bye.